You're listening to Cattywampus.
Fuck my life.
You okay?
Yeah. I'll be good in like 2
I still can't tell if he's doing a long form bit.
Yeah. I was like,
This
I'm
is
waiting.
gonna turn into the harumph thing.
Is this my cue? Harumph!
Oh god.
I think I'm good.
Fucking lit. It's like fucking recording of Statler and Waldorf.
I think I am
Oh,
good.
I wish. I wish we had their clout.
Their clout. Wish I had their business acumen. Clearly they own the theater, right?
They must. They're always there.
I always used to think as a kid that those two characters in the Angel and Rubber Phantom of the Opera, the two people who buy the opera house, are based on Statler and Waldorf. I was like, where's my Muppet Phantom of the Opera? Like Muppet Christmas Carol, but Statler and Waldorf are obviously those two guys. And Fozzie's the Phantom.
Yes.
Kermit's Raoul.
Oh God, why hasn't this been done
Yeah,
yet?
see it, but it's perfect. And obviously Miss Piggy is Christine Daae. That's good.
Yeah,
How
that
would you
works.
How would you feel about a Lovecraft Muppets?
What?
Oh, like Kermit is Cthulhu.
Yeah.
It's not easy being the ancient one. a guy wakes up and he's on this weird island, and it turns out to be Fozzie in the middle of the water going waka waka.
I would like to see At the Mountains of Madness with
Someday
With,
you'll find it. The blood sacrifice connection.
Oh, and Ralph can be the blind musician who opens the gateway. Okay, that was fun.
Yep. This was a good diversion.
Yeah. Hi, I'm David,
I'm Steve.
and I'm Brian.
and we're here to talk about Spawn,
Are you? Do
Also-
we have to?
also known as the prequel to Haunt.
More or less.
Kinda.
Or like the spiritual precursor?
Like the ancestor. Haunt's long-lost grandfather, Spawn.
Definitely like Haunt. 10,000 times better than Spawn. So just to cover what part of Spawn we really tackled.
Its origins.
You and I are I guess, did you read it, or are you just familiar with the first 12 issues?
Oh yeah, I read the first 12 issues again.
Okay.
I've read them before.
So we read the
Real
first
Spawn head over here.
we read the first 12 issues of the original run, and we also watched bits of the animated series.
We've basically watched the bulk of season 1 of the Spawn HBO series, which I've also seen before the animated series. So I've seen it all before.
Yeah, and then we watched the live action movie from 98.
97, 98.
Yeah.
Yeah. You sure it wasn't 1984?
It sure looked like it.
As I said before, we could have just watched The Guyver.
97.
Okay.
Michael J. White, 97.
So I've got to say that
Classic.
I, as a kid, always saw Spawn action figures, the Spawn video games, the movie came out.
Were there Spawn video games?
Yeah, Super Nintendo. And I think there's a fighting game, and there was also like a 3D adventure
I
game.
missed this. I know Spawn was in one of the Soul Calibers, right?
Yes, Soul Calibur 2 on the Xbox only.
Yeah, each system got an exclusive character. It was like
Yeah, and
Yoda.
for some reason-
It was like Yoda, Spawn, and Link.
No.
Yoda was 4.
That one was GameCube got Link, Xbox got Spawn, and PS2 got Hayachi in a diaper.
Yep, from Tekken.
In a diaper specifically.
Well, I mean, that's what he wears, but
So just Hayachi.
Hayachi, yeah.
Yeah, but I always like to put
What a-
emphasis
yeah.
on the diaper.
It's like saying Link in a tunic. You're like, yeah,
Yep.
generally.
Yeah.
Looks like Link.
Or Spawn
But-
in a cape.
But
Yeah.
so I feel like I saw Spawn everywhere. And, like the action figures were definitely all over the place.
America was Spawn crazy
But-
in the 90s.
yeah.
Which is weird given what it is, how crazy we all were for Spawn.
I don't understand how anyone likes Spawn. I don't, even between the comics, the TV series, and the movie, I cannot fathom being interested in it because it has no real selling point. It has nothing that grips at all.
Well,
It's gritty.
No,
Yeah.
it's not though. It's
Yeah, having excavated all endpoints of Spawn today.
it does nothing.
Well, I think one of the biggest issues that we kind of were talking about is that the problem with Spawn is that it doesn't really have, except for the movie, the Michael J. White movie, there's not really a hook, which is, the premise is, it's about an assassin who gets sent to hell and he comes back. And that's it. There's not
Yeah.
like a even though the comic has like a ticking clock of how long until his power runs out, there's not a dramatic there's no driving pulse to it. Like at least in the Michael J. White movie, he comes back and fairly early on in Act 1, they're like, and you're here to kill the people who killed you. And you're like, okay, something to do, which is like sorely lacking in the HBO show, sorely lacking in the comics.
Well, he specifically comes back from the dead. Like he sells his soul to the devil to see his wife again. Mm-hmm. That is the whole premise.
Wanda.
Yeah, he just wants to see Wanda.
Yeah, you can't say it any other way.
Yeah.
It's not her name. It's pronounced Wanda.
And it just... oh god, I find it really strange that in the comic. Okay.
So in the comic, once Al Simmons comes back, Al Simmons, the character often depicted as black, comes back and he's burnt. Yep. He's burnt to death. He has burns all of his body. How does he get to see Wanda in the comics?
So he uses his powers to form a disguise, which more or less turns him into a human. But the problem is that it turns him into a white male. He refers to himself as looking like a beach bum. Or something along those lines.
A Matthew McConaughey, if you will.
Right. And yeah, so he goes to see his wife and realizes once he gets there that she has remarried his best friend.
Terry Fitzgerald.
Who in the comics is a black male who was
his
best friend. And he also discovers that they have had a child. And all of this happens within minutes of him getting on the porch and discovering this. And all of it is too much to take, and he ends up passing out. And they take him into their home and take care of him. And he thinks about trying to talk to them about everything that's going on, but instead just says, anyway, I gotta go. Thanks for the help. Sorry I ruined your day. And that is completely different in the movies, completely different in the series.
They drop the race bending aspect.
They completely...
Wisely.
Well, they
yeah.
I found it really strange that they replaced his best friend with a white guy.
Oh, in the live action.
In the live action. It just seemed unnecessary. It seemed like a weird change, and they didn't talk about, I guess, Spawn didn't really show his emotions much in the movie, whereas in the comic,
I thought Michael J. White emoted quite a bit in the film.
But you really get to understand Spawn's inner turmoil over the whole situation and how he and his ex-wife were unable to conceive a child, and seeing that his best friend and her have had a kid, he, in the words of the comic, feels like less of a man.
Well, Todd McFarlane's working out his issues with masculinity and race,
but it is a very it's very different depending on which medium you decide.
Every time you buy an
with.
issue of Spawn, you're basically facilitating Todd McFarlane's therapy. Is kind of what it feels like. Please don't at him, by the way, after this.
Oh, I'm going to.
That was kind of my top priority.
He'll throw a Mark McGuire baseball at me.
It's weird having read Haunt and being somewhat of a fan of Haunt, and then going back and seeing...
Still a fan of Haunt, huh? Still
Really?
holding on to that dream, that
Well,
torch.
in comparison to Spawn, fuck yes.
Yeah, well, you know. We'll see if you change your tune after the Haunt animated series on Showtime.
No, that'll never happen.
It does.
No, I was just trying
They
to
don't
think of-
adapt fan fiction.
But seeing this Spawn,
No, I can't say that.
seeing the
Someone
Spawn
hasn't
animated
seen
show,
Shameless season 8.
seeing the Spawn animated show does make me less excited for the Invincible animated series. I don't think it has any effect on it, but just seeing what they have done in the past.
I think spiritually it does, because I
Yeah.
think I love Robert Kirkman, and I feel like we are counting the days until the interview of Robert Kirkman on the press tour for the Invincible animated series, where he's like, well, we just wanted to live up to the legacy of image animation, like this excellent HBO Spawn animated series. Like, he's gonna say that.
Yep.
You don't mean the Wildcats animated movie that only aired in Australia or whatever?
Can't say I ever saw that one.
Well, plus Image doesn't talk about Wildcats because Jim Lee sold it to DC.
Oh, yeah.
They act as if Jim Lee was never part of Image.
I am curious, having done all of this Spawn today,
Having spawned out.
having been spawned to death.
That sounds wrong.
Having been
There's nothing
spawned
more
to
erotic
death,
than watching salmon spawn.
I would like to now.
Formally resign from the podcast.
Podcast.
Yes, goodbye. No, I would like to know what is considered the definitive Spawn experience. What is the best of the best that Spawn can possibly offer?
You give
And I
Todd
know-
McFarlane $50 and he tells you stories while he kicks you in the ribs.
Wait, is he going to tell me the story of how Spawn and Haunt actually team up?
I think the definitive part of
$50 and you'll find
I
out.
think the definitive version of Spawn is the kick-ass intro, Rod Serling style intros in the Spawn animated series where Todd McFarlane is drawing in a castle and turns around and goes, "Have you ever made a deal with the devil?
Turn off your lights, kids. It's
Turn
time
off
for
your lights.
Spawn."
It's time for Spawn."
It's such a weird thing to me that Spawn, it's still running, which I mean, I guess
Yeah,
I get because
it
Todd
is.
McFarlane is, one of the heads of Image. But how does it have fans? I guess
I don't really know what the numbers still are on that book, like the diamond numbers. I'd be curious to know, but I don't know off the top of my head. I would imagine they sell.
I showed you earlier that I was looking at some of the newer issues, and I do think from an art perspective, it looks pretty good. I don't know how the story is. I think this is the first thing I've actually read by Todd McFarlane other than Haunt.
Well, historically, Spawn has launched several careers for artists. Obviously, Greg Capullo came off of Spawn. On the Seam and Twitch book, Alex Maleev came off of that book. These are early works. I think Ashley Wood as well. There's a lot of early, I will say, to Todd McFarlane's credit, I think he's definitely interested in finding talented young artists and launching their careers. And Spawn is a really good training ground in that it's a stalwart book that's monthly to the best of its ability,
It's established, and if you jump on, somebody's going to see it.
You can't really raise or tank the sales of Spawn with whatever you do on it.
Well, I mean,
Interesting in that way, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gonna sell what it's gonna sell. You
it's
could
here.
kind of do whatever you want.
It's
probably.
here, deal with it. People love it for whatever reason, they're going to buy it.
At one point, I'm pretty sure Gaia becomes the ultimate character, and you find out that Spawn replenished the way the counter went down, and Spawn traded Hell powers for Earth powers, and then they locked God. I'm not making any of this up because Steve is looking at me like I am.
I know.
Look at me like I'm high. I believe Spawn cuts a deal with Gaia, the Mother Earth, and they lock God and the devil into an alternate dimension or the future or something like that, like the end of the Earth, and just have them fight off in eternity. And so they rid the world of God and the devil, and now Spawn has Earth powers.
So they samurai jacked God and the devil to the future to fight it out.
Kinda, yeah.
I know I've seen the mythical warrior Spawn figures, and I just looking at covers have seen at a comic shop when they were going through a whole bunch of different mythical whatever.
Well, there's medieval Spawn too, which is Kaliushka, the character we saw in the movie. And I assume the narrator of the animated show. I don't know who else would be narrating it.
Todd McFarlane.
It's got to be medieval Spawn. That's not.
Yeah, no, it's not him.
Also, the animated series has Angela, the Neil Gaiman character that now is a Marvel character.
So, Steve, what
That's
did
grade
you,
A Spawn.
what did you think of Spawn?
Sweet Jesus. Spawn's hands down one of the hardest things I've watched in a while. That was one of the hardest things I've had to stomach. The story that's there is razor thin. I cannot express my disdain for John Leguizamo
As
anymore.
sharp as a cape, one might say.
Yeah, it's awful. That whole film from start to finish was awful. Again, we could have watched The Guy.
John Leguizamo is worse in this movie than he is in the movie The Pest, in which the goal of the movie is for him to be so annoying that men would hunt him for sport.
Yep.
Waste of Martin Sheen, waste of Black Dynamite. I mean, I get it. At this point in his career,
At
why
this point
wouldn't
in
you
his
take
career,
it?
right,
It's
you
probably a
take the
good
risk.
idea too, especially if you looked at the script for this movie and the production design and the concept art. It's the same summer as Batman and Robin. And I'm sure if you're looking at the pre-production of this movie and the trailer for Batman and Robin, you're like, oh fuck yeah, we're gonna nail we are nailing it. You probably thought you were in goddamn a Christopher Nolan movie at that point. So I don't blame anybody for signing on, but it just feels like Michael Jai White deserves a better Spawn movie.
Actually, this raises an interesting question. That came out the same year as Batman and Robin.
Same summer.
Oh wow, which one was worse?
Batman and Robin. I mean,
Yeah,
Batman and Robin.
sure.
It's a more technically competent film, but
I think I'd rather watch that.
No. Oh. Oh.
so long.
I know,
it
but-
takes forever. You think the pace of this movie was slow?
I do think that for what they had as far as a script and casting, blah blah blah.
In
that
Batman and Robin.
Sorry, Spawn. Most of the cast did what they could. That clown, his acting wasn't bad.
I mean, in
It
John
was just-
Leguizamo's defense, he did what I can only assume was asked of him.
right. I think he did fine. I think the clown was.
I'm
fine.
sure that was all in the script. I'm sure that's not him going, I know what I'll do. I'll CGI fart right now. You guys will add that later, right?
Right.
It's all playing. You know what I mean?
It's not their fault.
Yeah. He was just following orders.
The only person.
Good.
The only person.
We're using that defense. Fair.
The only person that couldn't act, in my opinion, was Terry. He was awful.
Famed actor D.B. Sweeney.
You say that, but that name sounds not familiar.
You mean the star of Quicking on Wikipedia of 8 Men Out? He was Shoeless Joe Jackson in 8 Men Out. He was in I don't know what any of these are. He was in an episode of Tales from the Crypt. I'm not doing myself any favors right now.
Yeah.
He was in he's in 2 episodes of 24. He was somebody in
So I'm
Taken
not
2.
wrong.
He's John Galt in those Atlas Shrugged movies. Ooh.
Oh, that doesn't help at
That's
all.
not good.
He's Aang in The Legend of Korra.
What?
He's the adult Aang.
So maybe his voice acting is better than his actual acting.
By large margin.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Oh,
He
he's in
just had this
Shrek.
blank stare on his face when he was talking, especially there was one scene where I was like, this is awful.
Well, he has a face for radio.
I mean, Martin
He
Sheen.
says over
Martin
the
Sheen
radio.
wasn't doing much better.
Oh God.
We were talking about like Martin Sheen must be thanking God that The West Wing comes out like a year after this. He's like, whoo, this is a close one. I could have been stuck in Spawn.
If you could change something about Spawn,
The movie or the character or the concept.
Me
What
having
would you
ever
change?
watched it.
My knowledge of it.
My awareness of the film. That's what I would change.
I feel like Spawn as an idea can be good and is good when done properly. And we were talking about it earlier. The Crow is more or less a good version of what Spawn is.
Well, I think The Crow wisely does a few things, which is one, ticking clock of, or not ticking clock in the sense of like time running out, but like clear objective. Hey, those 4 people who killed you, kill them. And like, it's no one tells him to do it. It's just what he feels like he must do. He comes back and he just has this feeling. And also that movie stays fairly mystical where it's like a crow brings him back. There's really no mention of heaven or hell as concrete ideas. There's really no specific religion or mythology it's following. Keeps everything very basic and very emotional. And this movie, it's like, God this and devil this and dear God, there's Malbogia, a fucking Nintendo 64 character, and here's a portal to hell, and this transforms into hell, and that's hell, and this and then, but at the same time, hell's really interested in making sure y'all have automatic weapons, and like it just creates so many questions about the logic of things.
And I still don't even think I really understand what their end goal was.
to get to heaven and burn it down, basically.
Yeah, to defeat
And
God.
the only way they could do that was
with
to,
Spawn.
Well, it was to create Spawn and then
Yeah.
have him kill somebody, which
Essentially the plan for hell was they create chaos and strife on Earth, jumpstart the apocalypse
To get more souls.
to get more souls. They kill the most powerful warrior on Earth to make him the leader of their army, so that when they get to heaven, he can basically just
down
raffle
the
stomp
gates
his
of
way
heaven,
to
yeah.
God.
yeah.
So I think in the comics, and I think talking about like Neil Gaiman's Angela character, like I think something that I do think is interesting is the idea that heaven is just as militant and dogmatic and warlike as hell. And like the Angela character and like her sisters and stuff like that in the comics are basically like anti-spawns, but they're just as bad. You know, they're just as violent and vicious and uncaring about people on Earth. I think that is
So-
an interesting idea. And that could be a good hook for a story.
So I don't know that I actually, in those 12 issues, you never actually see heaven.
No.
The only thing you see is there is that child, like serial child murderer, and he dies, and then he wakes up in what he thinks is heaven. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that it's just him going through the different circles or layers of hell.
Yeah, the tears of hell.
And then they trick him into killing a kid who, in turn, is actually a demon and is just using him to do
You get,
something.
and you get into a bit of it in the animated series with the introduction of Angela and like that corporation that's really just a gateway to heaven and stuff like that. And I do think like that's an interesting focus on the war. Because it feels like they talk a lot about a war between heaven and hell you don't really get to see a lot. And that's kind of the thing that's missing. And I'm like, well, just focus on that. Just do that. Just say it's already started. And Spawn's, maybe he could be important to it, but it's like, just give me the war. You know, like, it kind of reminds me of like The Matrix, where it's like that, you know, like Morpheus is like, there's a war going on. And then, you know, you watch people fight. Like, you're like, I understand how this war works. Whereas in Spawn, they're like, there's a war going on somewhere that's not here.
It sounds like you would really enjoy the Darksiders games, Because that's basically the story you just described.
I'm fairly confident that Darksiders got some inspiration.
Oh,
from
absolutely.
Spawn.
The problem is that from where I'm
Just
sitting,
accidentally wrote Darksiders is what you just told me.
yes, actually, from where I'm sitting, Darksiders is actually just a better Spawn story.
Well, you go one way or the other. You do the Crow thing, where you keep it really, really personal, and you don't get into the mythology. Or you go the other way, where you lean deep into the mythology and make that your strength. The Matrix is a movie that's a lot of people talking. It's a lot of exposition, but, that exposition pays off. And I feel like Spawn's a lot of exposition. And
For
then,
literally nothing.
Yep. It doesn't go anywhere.
It took me... I started it 2 days ago, and I read the first 2 issues, and you're
like, this is so awesome. I have to stop now to savor it.
I couldn't keep my eyes open. I was like falling asleep. And so I picked it back up.
Because it was so exhausting to read something so thrilling, right?
Yeah. You were just too enthralled.
Todd McFarlane's art was just too extreme for you.
Right.
Like, Jesus, Todd, calm down. I just can't stay. I'm exhausted reading this, man.
Todd, your very pages have made me cum so many times I just can't keep reading. I just need to take a rest. Where are my cigarettes?
Jesus, I need some Gatorade.
Oh,
but
get the Pedialyte.
I finished the 12 issues today. I woke
so
up. Do what?
This is the second time we're picking on Tommy Roy.
I know, we're so mean to this poor guy. And
This
by
poor
poor guy,
millionaire.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
The story goes nowhere, and in those 12 issues, there is almost nothing tying the issues themselves together, other than the fact that Spawn is in an alley with homeless people.
Well, that's kind of also indicative of a lot of those Image books at the time, which these artists broke away from Marvel. They formed their own company, and they started all these comics, and they're all concepts. And after issue 1, you're like you're out of ideas. Like, there's nothing else to this. They're all like pilots, basically. Where you're like, great, what's next?
I'm not, I guess, I don't know a lot about Image. I've read, a lot of Kirkman's work, but other than that, I don't know a ton about Image.
The second period of Image.
So I noticed Savage Dragon is in it for a split second. He's on a TV, and they're talking about heroes.
Yeah, that's like a reference to Eric Larson's
They
book.
mentioned the Youngbloods a lot.
That's Rob Liefeld's book.
Okay, so I have no idea what the Youngbloods are, and they
X-Force.
Lots of
X-Force.
pouches. They're people that have lots of pouches.
They were hit by a meteor that caused them to grow pouches on their outfits.
because they talked about the Youngbloods a lot, and they constantly referred to Spawn as possibly being a Youngblood.
Yeah, this is back. The animated series was commissioned at a time where those were still kind of an intricate universe.
And then we talked about it earlier. I can't remember which writer it was. I don't think it was
Gaiman.
Gaiman.
Oh, Dave Sims.
Dave Sims.
Yeah.
He did. So I wish you would have read it to see this issue.
The
That
Dave
was
Sim issue. The creator of Cerebus.
the most interesting part of that entire 12-issue run that I read.
Yeah.
Spawn goes to... what is it?
Some kind of Supermax jail or whatever.
It's like an alternate dimension, though, because he's like in a weird...
Yeah.
But he sees this jail cell in a prison, and it has a bunch of hands reaching out of it, and they're all screaming, what, injustice or something?
Yeah.
But it's like all of the main Marvel and DC heroes' arms.
It's just another excuse for the Image guys and the indie
It was
guys
just
to be like, fuck you.
Yeah,
like-
it was just an opportunity for them to just say, this is bullshit the way you treated us. Or
But I was not
I
expecting
think it's more
that.
like, this ain't your daddy's comic book. It's
that's
definitely got that feel.
It's like you said, these were all ex-Marvel writers that literally said...
Artists, not writers.
Artists, excuse me.
As you could tell by reading.
Right. They all said, they literally quoted Bender. They said, fuck you, I'll create my own comic book with blackjack and hookers.
Yeah, that's basically what happened. They were like, Chris Claremont, we don't need him. We can do our own thing. And you're like, I think you might have needed Chris Claremont.
You've made a terrible miscalculation.
But I had no idea that was going to be a thing. And reading it, I was like, wait, is this... Because at one point, you see Superman give his powers to Spawn. And that was all part of this like dream state. It wasn't real.
Yeah, so this is going to get even more complicated too, because then to complicate matters further, there's the Frank Miller, Todd McFarlane Batman Spawn crossover, which is canon to Frank Miller's Batman. So Dark Knight Returns, Batman Year One, All-Star Batman and Robin, and the Batman Spawn crossover
That sounds awful.
are one canon. Then Marvel goes to the Image creators and says, would you like to take over Avengers, Captain America, Iron Man, and Fantastic Four? Produce those books in-house at Image, and we will publish them. And Jim Lee went, yes, Jim Lee was like, absolutely.
I would love to put Spawn in your comics.
Jim Lee did Fantastic Four. Will Spartaccio did Iron Man. Rob Liefeld did Captain America and Avengers.
Were any of them good?
No. I think Jim Lee's Fantastic Four is kind of interesting. And actually, I think it's a really interesting proto kind of thing for Jim Lee, which is Rob Liefeld did what Rob Liefeld did, and Will Spartaccio did what Will Spartaccio did, and it was like, they're epic now, and they're fucking hardcore, and Captain America is a PTSD, and he's haunted by war, and he wants to shoot people, and rah, and Iron Man's like, fuck you, Hulk, I'll kill you, and Jim Lee's over here being like, I love the Fantastic Four. Doctor Doom steals the power cosmic, and then the Fantastic Four stop the Mole Man, and he's just like, I love Fantastic Four.
Comic books are fun.
And so when you see him go to DC, you're kind of like, oh yeah, you read that Fantastic Four book, you're like, yeah, I could totally see why you're like, DC, I love Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Yeah. Like, you could see his actual love for, like, comics, the DC and Marvel characters in the Fantastic Four book, in the sense that he's like, it's kind of like the proto version of Ultimate Spider-Man, where Jim Lee's kind of like, but he's like, well, nothing's wrong with this. I'll just modernize it. I'm not going to really change what Jack Kirby did. They all went to college together, but now because I can do it, let's say Tony Stark was there at college with them, and Bruce Banner, because it's a whole big universe. Excelsior, like, that is Jim Lee's tactic. And yeah, he's drawing it like Jim Lee would draw it, but at the same time, he's like, and then they get in a ship and Cosmic Race. He changes nothing, basically. Yeah. He's like, just a fun 12 issues of Fantastic Four.
You said
so that one's pretty good.
You said Batman and Spawn, and now I'm remembering.
Yeah, there's a DC version of the crossover and an Image version of the crossover, and Frank Miller with the Image version, obviously.
And now I think I'm remembering Batman versus Judge Dredd. That's a thing, right?
It must be.
Yes, it was, but I can't remember who did that.
I think
whoever won, we lost.
I think I have the graphic novel. Like
you have the trade paperback.
I think I have the trade paperback. I
Dredd.
swear it is in my attic somewhere. But so in Batman versus Spawn.
Well, it's not versus.
Batman,
it's just a crossover.
Okay, in the crossover, I'm assuming Spawn still murders people.
Yeah, and it's Frank Miller's Batman, so guess what? He still murders people too.
Oh, okay.
Alan Grant. Okay, so actually, classic. Alan Grant and John Wagner wrote the Batman Judge Dredd crossover, and
check out the cover.
Simon Beasley drew the whole thing.
What?
You want to get this out of the attic? I'd like to read this.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm interested.
This fits with my interests.
All right, so next podcast.
Guys, we read Batman Judge Dredd, Judgment on Gotham. It was great. I'm in. This looks amazing.
But yeah, I can't remember where.
Looks way better than Batman Spawn.
I can't remember where I got it, but I saw it and I was like, yeah, why not? It was like $10.
Yeah.
And I think it was interesting, but it has been forever since I've read that.
The synopsis: Judge Death makes a dimensional jump to Gotham City, murdering 2 lovers and a police officer. Batman defeats Death, who flees in spirit form. Among the remains of his host body, Batman finds a dimensional jump belt that he accidentally activates, transporting him to Mega City 1.
I need to read this now.
Sounds like a good movie.
Fuck this Batman Ninja Turtles animated movie. Give me
I
Batman
wanna
Judge
see that.
Dredd. Ugh, who cares about Batman and the Ninja Turtles? I want this.
Are they still?
It's happening.
Oh yeah,
No, not that. Dredd. Are they making another Dredd movie?
There's rumors of a TV show. They're shopping around. I think it's just
yeah,
really-
they've been shopping that for a while.
that Dredd movie a couple years ago
with Carl Urban.
Yep,
was great.
It's a good movie. It's a smart movie because Dredd's not the main character. Judge Anderson is the one with the arc.
Yep.
Smart move, because then Dredd can be Dredd. He doesn't have to take the helmet off, and he has a very, very small arc, which is she breaks protocol and he still passes her.
Yep.
So he learns, like he's the smallest of arcs. It's perfect. Warner Brothers, take note for your fucking Batman movie that you can't ever seem to get made.
I can't believe we still haven't seen a Batman movie.
I mean, The Dark Knight Rises was like 7 years ago.
It just feels like it's been a long time.
Also, there was Batman v Superman.
Right. And
which in the theatrical cut is really just Batman.
Ben Affleck is done as Batman, right?
Yeah, he's done.
So what DC movies are left that are currently...
Shazam comes out in April.
Yep. Then Wonder Woman 84
comes out next May.
Yep.
So, but Superman and Batman are gone, basically. Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill's still a question mark.
He's still, as far as I'm aware,
there's nothing official. We don't really know.
Right. Most of the rumors say that yes, he's still actively involved, but he wants a fuck ton of control.
Why? Whatever could have happened to him?
Because I still want to see Henry Cavill play Superman
with a mustache.
Yes.
You know that as soon as he walked out on set for those reshoots with that suit on and a mustache, you know he muttered to himself, "I'm a producer from now on, or I'm out." Like he was like, and no, I do not blame him at all. You know, he was like, never again.
So saying that though, Henry Cavill with a mustache aged up maybe 10 more years as
Gordon.
No, Invincible's dad. I think that would be.
I guess.
Pretty good, but they're not doing a live action Invincible anymore, are they?
No, they're doing the animated show.
Yeah, they're doing the series, which to me is probably a smarter
way
idea.
better.
Probably.
I hope.
Yeah, we may eat these words.
I don't know. We watched Spawn animated and we watched the Spawn movie, and I would say neither of them were a great choice, but that movie was
I
probably
would say nothing
better.
Spawn has ever been a great choice.
Except the original soundtrack inspired by the motion picture Spawn.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. I'll give you that.
Featuring the Crystal Method and Filter doing a collaboration. Marilyn Manson doing a collaboration with the Sneaker Pimps. Orbital and Kirk Hammett. Korn and the Dust Brothers. Butthole Surfers and Moby together, which sounds amazing.
Was KMFDM not on there?
I don't see any here. Not on the soundtrack.
That's shocking.
Slayer and Atari Teenage Riot.
What fucking Slayer song?
No, they did collaborations for the soundtrack. But a lot of these are original songs. Fire up your Spotify, bro. The Spawn soundtrack's where it's at.
Continuing the bold tradition of shitty films that have good soundtracks.
I mean, most of this sounds terrible now. I mean, this is a total nostalgia play because who the fuck wants to really listen to a song by Metallica and DJ Spooky?
No.
Stabbing Westward and Joss.
14-year-old me would love that.
33-year-old me would love Henry Rollins and Goldie.
You're listening to this on the way home, aren't you?
Yep.
Listening to it now in my head. Oh my god. But anyway, that's the best thing. You want the best Spawn thing? It's the soundtrack.
That's a real low bar, though.
Also, the Sam and Twitch spin-off book written by Brian Michael Bendis and drawn by Alex Maleev.
I do want to check that out.
It's good. It's good. I think
You said it's short too. It's like 20.
Yeah, I think he read the first 19 issues. It's great. I mean, it's Jan Bendis and Jan Alex Maleev, and I want to say Ashley Wood might have done some interiors. I know Wood did covers.
Does that their series, still have the over grit and edge?
Well, because it's Sam and Twitch, it's just about two detectives in the world of Spawn. So it's basically it's basically just True Detective, but magic is real.
I just didn't know if every other page is half naked girls.
Imagine
and, mobsters.
Imagine if the movie Bright didn't suck.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
and it was written by Brian Michael Bendis.
Yep. Has Bendis ever written a movie or done anything
that's gotten made? No.
He was heavy into Powers, which was
shit.
I don't even know how actually involved he was, other than a producer or if did he actually write any episodes? There?
I think he did have some writers' credits on that.
But
that was not good.
He's written a lot of adaptations of his own work that's never gotten made, particularly Torso.
Can't say I've heard of that one.
Torso is about Elliot Ness when he retired and allegedly found the Torso killer in Cleveland and couldn't keep the charges, so he secretly killed him. It's a crime murder mystery. The movie's been set up. I mean, David Fincher was going to make it for a while. Bendis has written the script. I mean, Paul Greengrass was attached at one point. Like it never got made, though. It's still yet to get made, but Bendis has written several drafts of it.
That's upsetting.
What was that?
My phone falling. Sorry. I forgot it was in my lap and I moved my leg.
You want to check it? You good?
It's fine.
What's done is done.
It'll buff out.
Look, it's Schrodinger's box or whatever. If I pick it up,
Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah, it's probably broken.
Yeah, until you.
I mean,
look
I guess
at
the box belonged to Schrodinger too. Yeah. It's generally called Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah.
You're not wrong in that. I assume he also owned the box.
Maybe it's his friend's box. He just put his cats in.
And the unstable isotope there within. I know Goldfish was set up for a while, which is basically him doing The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but as a modern day gangster tale in Chicago.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
A lot of his indie stuff's been set up. Obviously, Powers spent years in development at FX before Sony finally pulled the trigger.
That was a weird move, making it only available. What was it on PlayStation? Was the only way? To watch it?
They made it a PlayStation exclusive, and then they immediately abandoned the idea that they would do that, so they stopped supporting it. And I'm like, well, that's not really how building a streaming service works. You got to kind of commit for 5 years. You got to kind of fight it. I mean, you just got to do it, man. You can't start canceling stuff.
Yeah, because it only got the one season, right?
You got two.
Yeah, I got two.
Okay, so I watched most of the first season, but that was that pre Sony View or whatever?
I watched the pilot, and I went, I love the comic, and went, this is not for me.
Right.
It's kind of like Preacher in the sense that I was like, I love this comic. This isn't for me.
I feel like that's how if they made a show or animated anything, The Boys.
It's coming on Amazon. The trailer doesn't look terrible.
Is it gonna have Simon Pegg?
Yes, as the dad of that character who
what
dies.
the fuck? Okay.
That's cool though. You gotta admit.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
As Wee Huey's dad, who gets ripped apart by the speedster.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Carl Urban is Butcher.
All right.
It looks way better than it should be. You're like, I kind of looked at it and I was like, and they did one of the trailers is just a fake ad for the Justice League in that universe, like a PR ad for them, and I was like, all right.
Is it The Boys? Is pretty adult.
It's on Amazon, so I would assume
they can do whatever they want. I never actually got that far in the series.
I hope they tone some of that down because I like Garth Ennis, but some of that stuff you don't.
A little ridiculous.
You don't want that.
What do they call the Justice League in The Boys?
Are they just called the Seven?
But when they first introduced them, aren't they literally just having a gangbang on their?
Technically, when they first introduced them, they accidentally murder Huey's parents.
Yeah, and I just remember there was a lot of fucking.
Yeah, because it's Garth Ennis.
They were like, we have superpowers. We're going to control the world and fuck each other a lot. The only reason I read that series is somebody at the comic shop. I was just like, I'm out of comics to read. I read my Walking Dead and I read my Invincible.
I have read my Robert Kirkman.
Yeah. I was like, so what do I do next? And he was like, have you read The Boys? And I was like, sounds awful. And he's like, but no, check it out. And I was like, okay, Simon Pegg. I don't know.
Did you ever read Preacher?
No.
You should.
Imagine
if The Boys was great.
Yeah.
like
when the show came out and you and I had that conversation about it, I did read the first issue or two before watching the show, and they were very different.
Yeah, I love that book. That book is that's still Garth Ennis' like masterpiece.
Is that and Sandman are the two things that I really need to just power through. Sandman, I like Sandman. I made it through.
I'm a goth kid.
Yeah.
In order to get my goth license, I had to read Sandman and like it.
Sandman.
I had to read Sandman, like it, date at least 3 girls who like Sandman, and buy them replacement Sandman trades that they had fucked up with nail polish.
Yep.
More than one girl.
And I'm assuming Invader Zim and Johnny the Homicidal Maniac.
Kids, that lead lesson to you. When you work at a comic book shop and you're goth and you date people, you buy a lot of Sandman trades with your discount. I've bought volume 3 of Sandman multiple times in my life.
For some reason, mine was always Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. That was
You're a little younger than me, so I could see why.
Yeah, that and The Crow.
I think The Crow book was a little too arty for most of the people I know.
I liked it.
I like it too. You know me, I hate arty thing. Oh, you know me. I hate esoterica. But no, I like the Crow comic. It's incredibly arty. Steve, you might like the Crow comic because I know you're not a huge fan of the movie, so the book's a little bit more artfully done.
Yeah, I've heard good things. I need to pick it up.
You might like the book, yeah.
It is the only other acceptable form of the Crow. Every sequel or any other iteration of the Crow has been garbage.
You mean like Crow City of Angels?
Or Salvation, or
Wicked Prayer.
Wicked Prayer. Yep.
Or the short-lived TV show with Mark Dacascos, Stairway to Heaven.
I don't think I've seen it since it aired. I believe when
no
it aired,
one has.
But you watched it while it aired.
I didn't watch
Impressive.
it.
Even I'm not that big a Crow stan.
No, I think my sister-in-law was watching it. Never grabbed me.
The Crow is kind of like, hey, would you like Spawn, but you don't like metal? You'll probably like The Crow.
But I like Spawn. I'm sorry. I like The Crow and I like metal.
You're a weird one.
You do not fit into any box.
I don't like Spawn.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
So what you're saying is you wish Spawn had that Cure song.
I wish Spawn had more emotion.
I do too. I think we could all agree Spawn could use some more character emotion.
I think there are great things in it, but it never gets fleshed out.
Are there? The cape.
Yeah. Yes, the cape.
I love everyone's like, yep, the cape.
But no, like the concept of, coming back and then seeing your wife is now with your best friend, blah, 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 blah. It's been done to death, but I do think that could have been built on to make an interesting story. But in the comics, as far as 12 issues in, it never gets touched on. He just kind of talks about it every once in a while. Like, man, it sure sucks.
Boy, it sure does suck to be Spawn.
Yeah, it sucks to be Spawn. I'm going to do mythical things real quick.
Boy, I just don't like being Spawn.
But if I don't know what your goal is after 12 issues, I'm out.
Yeah, well, I mean...
After even a couple issues, I'm out.
This is a big problem with a lot of those early Image books is, these artists were not writers, and it really shows. Like, they're not plotted that well. You're just like, where are we going? What is this about? And 300
years of Spawn.
300 issues later, I think we're still like, where is this going?
Well, I mean, it's 12 issues but that is a year of commitment of going to your comic book shop and buying these monthly or whatever.
When Spawn came out, it was still a boom, and by issue 12, I think we were in the comic book bust. I mean, Spawn is, I would say, one of the reasons to talk about Spawn too is like it is the poster child for the comic book speculation boom. Millions of copies of Spawn #1 sold because the idea would be worth something one day. Now you can get like 20 copies of Spawn #1 for $1 total. Like, they sell it to you by the lawn box. It's all issue 1 of Spawn, along with Jim Lee's X-Men #1.
But still, like, if I've committed a year to a series, it had better fucking do something. There better be a plot, and Spawn just does not have that.
You know what? To Todd McFarlane's credit, Spawn #12 came out 13 months after #1.
It's better than Kirkman did for, like, the first half of The Walking Dead. So, who won that?
Kirkman?
Not Society.
I don't know. You watched season 10 of The Walking Dead. You tell me.
I still think you need to watch.
Cool though. We're
Are you
getting
gonna
a
need
third.
to watch season 10 of The Walking Dead?
I think
Really? Because I think you should hop onto Doctor Who right now.
I think it is very interesting how they are taking this show where all of the main characters. I know you don't give a shit. All of the main characters that carry that comic book, that make that story work, all of those actors said, we gotta go. So they found a way to rewrite the show.
I'm sorry. Continue.
I hate you guys.
Sorry, I fell asleep for a second. You were talking about The Walking Dead?
They're essentially having to rewrite the show with new characters, and I think it is.
These are not selling points.
Yeah,
No way that's gonna go wrong.
But it shouldn't work, but it does, and the show is surprisingly better for it. But on The Walking Dead, I don't know if either of you guys have heard anything about it, but
It's a show about zombies.
the game that just came out recently.
The Telltale game or a
No.
different game?
No overkills.
Yeah, Overkill's The Walking Dead. It's the company that made Payday.
Yeah, Payday and Payday 2.
Yep.
Don't know how that ever went wrong.
Yep. Well, to be fair, Payday was good.
Payday 2 was good too, as long as you were playing it on PC.
Yep. And every other version of it they abandoned. So, The Walking Dead came out.
Their game.
Their game, The Walking Dead. And it had a decent amount of hype. They had made all kinds of...
What was the style of
It was
game?
Payday with zombies.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
More or less. Yeah, just survive, fortify your area, and kill zombies.
It was Fortnite.
In theory, it should have been a pretty good game.
Who's Fortnite except Robert Kirkman gets a cut?
Yeah. Well, so on that, it came out on PC and it did fucking terribly. It was supposed to come out on consoles, I believe next month.
Yep.
And as of a week ago,
Yeah, they shit canned it.
Robert Kirkman said, "Fuck this game, sorry," and removed it from pretty much anywhere except for PC. And I think they disabled the ability to purchase it.
Yeah, no, it's done.
And they're trying to figure out how to refund it. But I can't think of any game that has failed.
So
that
how is
hard.
Overkill gotten...
Final Fantasy 14 before Realm Reborn.
So
Right.
how is Overkill... Well, I guess what I'm really asking is how is Overkill...
Fallout 76.
How has Overkill failed up? But that's pretty much how everything works. I was like, how did they fail?
Oh, no, they didn't fail up. That
I was gonna say,
company's
you-
probably going to go
Well,
under.
see, you failed. So, but Payday 2 failed. And then the response is,
No,
well,
no,
how
no, no,
about...
no.
How
Payday
about
2 didn't necessarily fail.
Payday 2 is not a fail in even the slightest regard.
I think if you
But
release
they-
something to consoles and then it doesn't work and you give up, the idea that Payday 2 would have a problem like that, and then instead of being like, wow, we should really like backtrack, we failed. Instead of being like, yeah, how about more money in stakes with an IP? It's kind of like the Zack Snyder fate. It's like Man of Steel had some problems. Would you like Batman and more money? How about the Justice League?
I don't know what the justification is for it, but I'm assuming they just don't have the staff and they don't
Lowest
have.
bidder. They were low. It was the lowest bidder. It was just like,
Well-
we need to get somebody to do this. Who's going to be cheapest?
And
No.
I can almost promise you the majority of their players, even after launching it on all consoles, their biggest fan base was still PC. And all the DLC that they sold, their biggest base was on PC. And they said, this is where our money is.
Well, yeah,
so
but
why
The
branch?
Walking Dead, it seems like you would know that there would be a healthy chance at revenue at a console release.
No, it's not that.
And that was going to happen. But the PC version
But
tanked.
the game is not good.
No, the PC version did not. It made, I think they said 3
well,
million.
no, it was also shitty.
was like shit game.
Yeah, it's like a problem. The release was
Yeah.
problematic.
Well, it was just, and they made like 3 million, but now they're having to refund all of it, I believe. Yeah, this isn't the Telltale where it's like, oh, that sucks. This
I
is
mean,
the,
literally, Overkill, when console players complained about what was going on with Payday 2, they straight up told them, oh, well, if you really like it, you should just go play it on PC.
So don't you people have phones?
Yeah, it literally...
It's a shame Corey's not here.
You want to call him?
Do you want to Skype Corey in real quick?
Where's your PC?
This one has mixed minus.
I thought that was interesting, especially that Kirkman more or less was a deciding factor in that. He was like, I'm sorry, this game is not
Well, he owns
up.
the IP, technically speaking.
Yeah, it was Skybound Productions that was producing the game. And
he owns the IP. I mean, it's his,
he said,
his control.
This does not meet our quality standards. Blah, blah,
Yes,
blah.
our quality Walking Dead standards.
This is gone.
This is not Fear the Walking Dead level quality.
Oh, good news. We're getting a third series now.
Plus those movies.
Yeah, fantastic.
Meanwhile, Denai Guerrera is out.
so
She's got Black Panther sequels to be in. More power to her. She's great in those movies.
Absolutely.
The way they're handling that's real weird. They're just not there. Like
That's because Endgame reshoots.
Lauren Cohen, the girl that plays Maggie, I guess.
That's because she's on a TV show.
Right.
I give that one a month.
Just to give you an idea, though, she
No.
basically just disappears, and they're like, "Yeah, she had to go think. Yeah, she went to go think on some problems we've had."
I have to go back to my home planet.
So she's the leader of the Hilltop in the show, and so she leaves to think and leaves Jesus in charge. Then they do time jumps. They do a 2-year time jump, and then they do a 6-year time jump, and Maggie's still not there, and they bring her up, but
Yeah, because someone's making a TV show.
where's that Maggie at?
Someone's taking it. It's
Brian, you just not even that long ago were trying to sell us on watching season 10.
I know, right?
And now
It's-
you're telling me
And now
that
you're telling
it's
me-
doing this.
No,
And now you're telling me I should watch Whiskey Cavalier.
Yeah.
if I want to see Lauren Cohen.
Absolutely not. But no, I do think.
But it's the same thing with Denai Guerrera. It's like, hey, Avengers Endgame shoot. I mean, not even reshoots because they knew they were going to have to shoot more. I mean, she ain't there because she didn't get dusted.
this season is
T'Challa
absolutely
got dusted in her hands. I'm sure she's traumatized. Can't wait.
This season is absolutely better than the last like 4 seasons, maybe 5 seasons of The Walking Dead.
That's not okay. I know I say this a lot. Not a high bar.
These are not selling points.
Yeah, but I am shocked they're trying to do a third. Or
I've made these
are you
batch of
shocked?
brownies. They give you 20% less diarrhea than the previous batch.
This batch of brownies has 20% less lead.
What is the new series called? I haven't seen that.
all we know
Don't
is that
fear
it's
the Walking Dead.
yeah.
I don't need more of this in my life.
No more zombies.
Yeah, I don't need more zombies. I don't need more superheroes.
George A. Romero died, and so did my interest in this genre.
I've been over zombies for quite a while.
I just read The Walking Dead out of habit. I don't even care anymore.
I think it's been really good. I like where it's going. I think the
Oh,
problem,
good, another uprising.
I think the problem right now is that what they're dealing with is something that you're going to want to read like 6 issues at a time, not month to month.
It's just we're literally in the same position again. There's
Yeah.
another uprising.
Yeah.
Oh no, people are sucking again. Oh no.
Oh, we are The Walking Dead. 180 issues.
Yeah, like
Kinda.
Yeah.
not even kinda. It's
I do think what they're doing right now is a little different. I know it's not like it's the same
In what way?
idea.
No, what's different about it?
That Rick is
old.
kind of well,
he's old now. He's grown a beard to show that time has passed.
yeah, and he's got a little tiny hook hand. But I feel like he's leaning into it more than he has in the past. As
Listen
far
to-
as
listen
like,
to yourself.
He's more beard.
yeah.
He's more beard now than man. Twisted and evil.
I'm curious to see where this arc goes. I do wonder what the end game is and how long it's realistically going to take.
I don't think there is an end game.
Yeah, I really
I
don't
don't
think
think he
he
has
knows
one.
how
He
this
said he
ends.
had one like 2 years ago.
Oh, whatever. The shows will have to be long canceled, and then like 2 years later, I'll be like, I guess I'm done with this comic.
I'm real curious to see how many seasons we get of that show.
I'm not.
I bet 12.
12?
Yeah,
I could see them trying 2 more years. I could see them straggling along with a season 11 and then going, all right, let's do one last season. We'll say it's the last season. We'll get everybody back. And
what
just
it'll
be
do,
done.
what they'll do is they'll put out this third series. It'll fail miserably, and then that is going to be the tipping point in which they start losing Fear the Walking Dead viewers, which it will disappear. then they'll have to end The Walking Dead.
I will say, on the other hand, AMC doesn't fucking have anything else.
Right, and
that
that's why
control,
they keep doing this. Which
which is also why, So
they're becoming the Walking Dead network.
because they don't own anything else.
Yeah, and they should probably start looking
Well,
It's almost like diversifying is a wise choice in all things.
They
into the
tried, but they kept
Badlands.
failing because the problem they had is that they kept conflicting with studios who were making shows, and they conflicted with Sony, who made Breaking Bad. They conflicted with Lionsgate, who made Mad Men, and they went, well, we'll make our own stuff because we're tired of dealing with these studios. It's the video game thing again, from our Super Mario discussion, or from our Warcraft discussion.
Yeah.
Where it's like, they're like, well, how hard could it be to make TV? Apparently very hard, because it turns out Low Winter Sun didn't quite cut it. Into the Badlands didn't quite cut it. Hell on Wheels didn't quite cut it.
For the
and you
Walking
see how
Dead-
Sony took that Breaking Bad movie
Oh.
to Netflix and not to AMC?
Yep.
Sorry, they also own
Low Winter Sun.
Norman Reedus Ride.
That
I've never watched it, but I can't.
Have you?
No, I
No,
haven't.
I don't believe you. I think
I
you
have
have.
not, promise
No,
you.
I think you fucking watched that show.
And I think they're on season 3 or 2.
You
and
know.
no, well they play ads for it when I'm
Is
watching
it an
The Walking
hour
Dead.
or a half an hour?
I have no idea.
Now,
But-
speaking of Norman Reedus, do we
Oh,
have
likely
do we have a
think you know.
tentative date for Norman Reedus and the Funky Fetus, aka Death Stranding?
I thought they said. I heard that they said this year, and I think all of the media, all of video game media, went no.
No,
But they said
I
this
don't know.
year.
Maybe I'd be willing to believe this year. Actually,
Yeah.
no. Kojima always does that shit where he's like,
No, I
yeah.
would really believe this year because I'm almost certain Cyberpunk will be this year.
Cyberpunk
Hopefully.
apparently is
at E3.
fully playable. It's
Yeah.
just being finished.
Right, so I
It's
believe
in
that'll
QA testing.
be probably November of this year.
I'll be interested to see how that goes. I
can't
played,
wait.
I played a lot of Cyberpunk 2020, the
Oh, yeah.
RPG, and I love Neuromancer so much I've even read the sequels.
That was some bold decision making on your part.
Last
But that
Cyber-
game looks good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
That game looks very good. I'm very excited. I was always more of a Philip K. Dick man myself.
I don't know who that is.
Scanner Darkly.
yep.
The book, Do Androids Dream, of Electric Sheep?
Yeah.
Which
Blade
is the
Runner.
basis, the loose basis for Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And Total Recall, which is We Can Remember It For You Wholesale.
So
The Adjustment Team, which is the basis for The Adjustment Bureau, a science fiction film about hats. You'll see it. We'll watch it next time.
Oh Lord.
You'll yearn for Spawn.
no,
You'll pray, ho.
no.
Y'all think that.
I'm not doing any of
I
this.
would rather watch that than Spawn at this point. I'll take Dull over
Over
John over
Malbosia.
over John Leguizamo farting.
Spawn. He's our man.
No, that wasn't him farting. That was the clown.
That was the characters.
It wasn't real. Those weren't real farts.
Steve, that was just him acting.
No, that was the clown that was farting though. The little gas cloud. And
Who do you
everything.
think I'm talking about? John Leguizamo was the clown.
confused. What's
That
that?
was Luigi from the Super Mario Brothers.
John
what
Leguizamo
the
is
fuck?
clown.
You just now
Wait, you
realized.
don't- You didn't know
I
that?
did not know that.
Who did you think it was?
I didn't know who the fuck it
It
was.
was John Leguizamo.
Yeah, that was Luigi.
And I've been Brian.
Yeah, well, I guess that's a good place to end.
That's as good as place to any. Oh no, John Leguizamo, what have you done?
John Leguizamo was in what? Oh God! Oh God!
That just broke my brain.
Kids, say no to Spawn.
Dare to keep kids off Spawn. That's my new campaign.
I wish Spawn had come out 10 years earlier, because then you could have actually had like Spawn PSAs in the 80s for the animated series. Like the kid's trying to cross the street, and he's like, "Hold on, now Jimmy, you must know to look both ways before crossing the street." Oh, because a car is Mr. Spawn? No, because of ice cream truck driving pedophiles. And just the guy drives by a fucking clown, and he's like, "Ha, ha, 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 I'm here to rape you." And you're like, "Thanks, Spawn." And knowing is half the battle. Wonder.
That's why I said we were watching the animated series, and I was just like, pork chop sandwiches.
What's wrong, Jenny? I was thinking of running away from home. Why? A fight with your parents? Yes, Spawn.
It's dangerous out there, Jenny. Do you know about sex trafficking?
Jenny, you don't want to run away from home. You live in an alley. But Spawn, you live in an alley. Yes, but I'm a superhero. And that's where superheroes live when they fight the demons of hell. You should go home. I bet you can work it out.
I would not call him a superhero.
Spawn, does my dad drink too much? Well, Benny.
Have you talked to a loved one or a trusted adult?
Sometimes when I'm battling demons with my hooks that come out of my chest and my cape that slaughters people by slitting their throats, I think I could use a sit down. I wish I had a support group like your dad has. That includes you, Benny. Thanks, Spawn. The more you know. With Spawn.
And I'm out.
Deuces.
I've been David.
I've been Steve.
And I'm Brian.
You've been listening to Cattywampus. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr at CattyWampusPod. Email us at cattywampuspodcast@gmail.com. Music by Tilly.